Good evening, class. Last video of the semester, and we were asked to pay tribute to someone, a historical figure or contemporary. So, for me, I chose Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and just to help you get a understanding of Mr. Bonhoeffer, I have a cross here. Now, I have some other things also to show you, but the main thing I want to focus on tonight is the cross. Mr. Bonhoeffer, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, was born in 1906 in Breslau, Germany. He died at the age of 39 on April the 8th, 1945. He was a pastor, theologian, and a scholar. And he had the privilege of dying for his faith. I know that's probably weird to say, but in reading the biography by Eric Metaxas, Bonhoeffer, pastor, martyr, um, prophet, spy, Mr. Bonhoeffer's life really made a deep, deep impact on me. First of all, I had never heard of him until a few years ago, and then when I did, I didn't really realize at the time that people died for their faith so close to our time. I mean, this was just 1945. I mean, my grandmother was born in '43, so I mean, come on, So I was floored by the aspect that someone died for their faith that close to my generation. So that was one of the things that really just stood out to me. And Dietrich Bonhoeffer was one of those people, one of those rare people in the world that wanted to really want to make a difference with his life. He went to the best schools. I had two parents that were professors at one of the universities in Germany and in Berlin, the University of Berlin, if I'm not mistaken. And his life was it was a jewel of a life. He did a lot by the age of 39. And he literally died in a concentration camp, Beckenwald concentration camp in 1945, alongside Jewish brothers and sisters. He was one of those people that wouldn't back down from Hitler's reign of terror. So what he did was he was a pastor in the pretty much underground confession church because Hitler was trying to control all of the propaganda going out of Germany, and Bonhoeffer wasn't having it, So he preached the true gospel. He preached the message. He preached against Hitler, and preaching against Hitler at any time was a signing your own death certificate. So Dietrich Bonhoeffer stood up amongst all the other people. There was some other people, speaking out against Hitler, but he was a real voice for it. He put a face to it, if you will, and he wasn't afraid to die for his faith. He really believed that dying for your faith and taking up your cross and following the Lord was the way to go. And he wanted to please God rather than man. Just to give you an insight, I got a couple of quotes here from him and a little reading, and we'll see what Mr. Bonhoeffer had to say. Bonhoeffer thought that it was the plain duty of the Christian and the privilege and honor to suffer with those who suffered. He knew that it was a privilege to be allowed by God to partake of the sufferings of the Jews who had died in this place before him, talking about the concentration camp. That was the type of heart he had. To He didn't care that they were Jewish people. He didn't have a problem with the Jewish people. He was a German, and the things that were being said by Hitler, he was spewing all this hatred and things out. And Bonhoeffer was a believer, so he loved the Jewish people. He loved people. Period. There's even an episode here where he went to Dietrich Bonhoeffer went to New York, and he had a chance to worship in a black African American church there in New York, Abyssinian Baptist Church, one of the oldest black churches in the nation. And he got a chance to see real worship, and that touched him. So he was just a people person. Also, in the cost of discipleship, This is his own words, um, talking about his passion. The passion of Christ is our victory and divine love over the powers of evil, and therefore it is the only supportable basis for Christian obedience. Once again, Jesus calls those who follow him to share his passion. How can we convince the world by only preaching and not by passion? When we shrink from that passion in our own lives. On the cross, Jesus fulfilled the law. He himself established and thus graciously keeps his disciples in the fellowship of his suffering. The cross is the only power in the world which proves that suffering love can avenge and vanquish evil. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, great man, pastor, theologian, powerful man of God that died for his faith. We thank you for your sacrifice. Goodbye.